What's going on, guys? Hey, we are going to talk about the USA and Iran. The last handful of videos I've posted about the USA and Iran, you guys, we've gotten a lot of engagements in the comments and a lot of critical thinking going on, conversations, and it's all been pretty respectful too. So appreciate you guys for that. And it's so we're going to talk more about it because it's very, very important. The majority of viewers on this channel are from the US. Second place is from the UK. And this also affects the UK because Iran just yesterday started threatening the UK that any bases that the UK is hosting is allowing USA aircraft to be stationed at are considered um, legal threats and targets to Iran. So that's interesting. Um, Before we do jump into it, we're going to watch a couple of clips that I have here of the most recent strikes, and then we're going to talk. Okay. These are just very short clips. There's just a couple of them, but I wanted to show them just to give some context to what I'm talking about when I say these strikes in Iran. Hitting aircraft, munitions depots, command centers, anti-air assets. There's one more here. All right, we're back. So let's talk about this for a minute. And I want to break it down in terms of what I see most in the comments and kind of explain uh, your guys' explanations to what's happening and then my explanation. And then we can talk about it in the comments again or in the Discord. Jump in the Discord if you want. Link is in the description. So I did some research and by research, I mean just asking AI. And I asked AI what percentage of the US population supports the war in Iran? And it's obviously the majority of Republicans support it, the vast majority of Democrats oppose it. And then overall, it looks like it's about a 60-40 split. Some polls say 50 closer to a 50-50 split, but let's be generous and say it's 60-40 split. 40% support the war in Iran, 60% oppose the war in Iran. And why is that? So when people are asked or polled, asked the question, "Do you support Iran developing a nuclear weapon?" Across the board, Republicans and Democrats voted no. Nobody wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. That's one of the very few topics that is bipartisanly agreed upon from both sides of the aisle, which is good. I think that's very obvious. And with the exception of the really fringe extremist groups, everybody's on the same page with that. But it changes when we get into the action items. Okay, so you don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. What are you willing to do about it? And if you say go to war, all of a sudden there's a large percentage of people that are like, no, 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 none of that. But we don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. But also we don't want to go to war. So these are kind of mutually exclusive ideas. If we don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, we can't just tell them, hey, no nukes for you guys. No, no, because everybody knows Iran does not hold to their end of the bargain. They haven't for the last 47 years of ongoing negotiations with every single different presidential administration of the US. So you can't just tell them no, no. It's pretty much well known that if we're going to stop them from developing nukes, we need to intervene physically, militarily. Um, so now, one of the biggest arguments that I see made is there is no evidence that Iran was close to developing a nuke. So this is by far the most common that I see argument. There's no evidence that Iran was close to developing a nuke. They've been saying this for the last 30 years, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's and like most things, there's gray area and there's truth and falsities to that statement that there is no evidence. So one thing that we know for sure, and this was through the IAEA, which is like the UN nuclear kind of control agency. Anyways, we don't trust them a lot because there's been reports of them being basically being bought off by the Iranians, but in the past, but these are speculations. Anyways, I don't want to get too into that. But what has been proven by multiple agencies, including the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, in 2025, they found and they saw and they monitored that Iran has been enriching uranium to a dangerous degree. Again, so it's been recorded that Iran is enriching a lot of uranium. If weapons grade is 90%, Iran, which it is, Iran has reported to be going upwards of 60% enriched in 2025. That's when we saw Operation, what was it? Epic Freedom? Oh no, that was the most recent one. I don't know, dude. They're all such cheeseball names. I wish they were cooler names, right? But when we struck their Iran's enriching facilities like Fordo and a couple of others in 2025, this is when we were able to, or we were recording that they were just above 60% enriched. So that's not too far from 90, which is weapons grade enriched. And why would you want them to get to 90 anyways, right? So we took action to basically try to bury it, try to crumble the mountains that these things are built under, and crumble the mountains on top of them so they can't get to their uranium. If and so nobody can basically. Um, and that ended up estimating that bought basically the free world another 9 to 12 months before Iran can get back on their feet and start enriching to weapons grade levels again. Okay, so let's talk about levels of enrichment just because this is really important in my opinion. So there is enriched uranium that is used in civilian application, civilian jobs, infrastructure, nuclear facilities, for example, that produce energy. So the highest grade, the highest percentage of enriched uranium that is used in the civilian world is in nuclear reactors, which is a 20% enrichment. 20%. That is by far the highest. Okay, anything under that uses enrichment is using typically between 1 to 10% enriched uranium in these other applications that they need enriched uranium. So if we're generous, we'll say 20% is the max that can be used in civilian applications. Anything over that starts flagging everybody in the world's sensors saying, hey, what are they doing? They're not, there's nothing that enriched uranium past 20% is used for besides weapons. So everybody gets on red alert. Okay. Now, to the point that there's no evidence that Iran was developing a nuclear missile, there's some truth to that in the sense that there is no documented cases of any kind of intelligence or data showing Iran trying to build an actual nuclear missile that can like a missile and a warhead that can hold a nuke, right? So there is truth in that. There is no evidence that Iran is building this um what would be the vehicle, the actual missile to carry the nuke to its destination. Okay, is it possible that Iran is just doing this underground somewhere? Yes, of course, and that's most likely what's happening. But let's give Iran the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, they're not even doing that. They're not even making a nuclear missile. So what are we doing in Iran, right? Again, we go back to the enrichment. There is no reason to have over 20% enriched uranium. That's when it becomes weaponized. So these guys are at 60%. They're actually above 60% now. So, or they're moving up. Why would they have this? There is no recorded evidence, documentation, anything saying that there is anything in the world that over 20% enriched uranium can be used on besides weapons. So why are they making it? Okay, so the USA kind of put two and two together. Okay, they're enriching way past civilian applicated enriched uranium, way past. But we can't see exactly, we can't find them developing a nuclear missile that will hold the enriched uranium, the nuke. But you can kind of infer that if they're going to enrich uranium to that high of a percentage, they're going to do something bad with it. So, in my opinion, and I think the United States' opinion, why wait around? Okay, what we do know is that Iran has a relatively robust ballistic missile program. This missile program has killed multiple Americans now just in this war. Um, that started 6 months ago, 5 months ago. Um, it's been able to successfully land strikes in Saudi Arabia, Qatar. So we know that they know how to make ballistic missiles, and they know how to make them relatively well enough that the U.S. can't shoot them all down. Okay, which if the U.S. can't shoot them all down, probably nobody can shoot them all down because the U.S. it has the best surface-to-air missile systems in the world. Everybody wants them. The Patriots, right, and similar units. So the part that's missing, if it's a three-step situation. The first is the enriching of uranium. That is a big red flag. The middle part is we haven't seen them making a nuclear capable missile. We haven't seen it. So there's no flag on this part, or make it a green flag or something, because there's no evidence of this. And then over here is their ballistic missile system, which we know is decent and we know it works, which is the other red flag. So we've got a red flag, a green flag, and a red flag. It doesn't take rocket scientists to put two and two together to realize the number one state sponsor of terror, Iran, probably isn't going to do good things with this enriched uranium. Even if they only were making it to use as leverage in negotiations, still not allowed, right? There's no way the free world can allow Iran that much in weaponized percentage enriched uranium. This is kind of my overall take on the biggest discrepancy or argument that I see in the comments and all over YouTube, not just my videos, is there's no evidence Iran was developing a nuclear missile. True, technically. The actual missile, there is no evidence. Did they have military or did they have weaponized grade uranium? Yes. Do they have a robust ballistic missile system? Yes. But no, we have not seen the specific nuclear capable missile. Um, so I think that's what a lot of people, right? If they don't do their own research, they will see a headline that says no evidence of nuclear missile in Iran. And they're like, Iran didn't even have a nuke, especially all the PTSD from Americans after Iraq and trying to find the weapons of mass destruction, right? I get it. And so that just is kind of to come full circle. That's my take and some statistics for you that I've found and kind of put together on the number one argument that's made about the war starting in the first place. Okay. The second part that I want to talk about is boots on the ground. I have made the claim multiple times that I believe boots on the ground would be the most efficient way to go about eliminating the IRGC, thus eliminating the threat of Iran's ballistic program, nuclear enrichment program, and stabilizing the Strait of Hormuz. That's what I think. Boots on the ground. This is like saying the word of Voldemort in politics because everybody thinks Iraq, Afghanistan, deaths, prolonged 20-year war, which is understandable. But with that said, I wanted to ask you guys a question, and I know the answer to this question, but I want to ask it to so everybody can kind of know. Has there been any war in history that has been won without putting boots on the ground? No, right? Um, so when people are making these claims or these suggestions that the U.S. should just continue their air campaign, continue hitting them with missiles, continue bombarding them how we have been and taking out their stuff, right? You can do that. And you could do that for probably a long time. One thing we know about the Iranians and terrorist proxies and terrorist organizations, they're really good at building tunnels, especially in the Middle East. So we could probably bomb these guys for a very long time, and they've got a spider web network of tunnels that we would be doing this for decades, probably, honestly. Um, so that's my take, and also my reasoning behind boots on the ground. Otherwise, we're going to get this slow drip of American deaths, American casualties, like we're currently seeing. We just saw on the air bases in Jordan, or the air base in Jordan with the Iran's ballistic missiles. Before that, it was in Jordan again, actually, I think, or Qatar, where they hit that little like command center where the American command was with a drone. Um, so it's this slow drip of casualties in KIA rather than boots on the ground, full storm, invade, take over. And yes, it'll be a higher percentage of casualties in KIA, absolutely. But the question is, will it outweigh the amount of casualties that could take place over years and years and years of doing this long range air campaign? Right? Who's to know? But there's no arguing that a full scale invasion of Iran would bring a KIA and casualties. It absolutely will. War is a terrible thing, but I do believe if the goal, which the administration has said this since day one, and they've also changed it multiple times, but they've stayed relatively consistent on this first part, which is ensuring Iran does not have a nuclear program. If that is remains the goal, we're not going to do that from sitting in the Strait of Hormuz launching missiles. We got to put boots on the ground, even if it's smaller Maduro style raids, right? With the top of the top Delta and SEALs and MARSOC and all these guys, right? Maybe it doesn't have to be a full scale invasion, but there have to be boots on the ground. And for all I know, there is already. There probably is, based on all these Cappy videos we've been watching. But okay, that covers the part I want to talk about uh, with boots on the ground. And then this is the last thing, and we'll end it because this is already long. Um, I've seen a couple of comments of people saying that it's hypocritical to be in Ukraine, also have fought in the Ukrainian military against the Russians, but then support the war in Iran. And to me, this is probably one of the most absurd claims because what they're insinuating is that every war is created equal. Because I am helping defend Ukraine or have helped defend Ukraine, that I should automatically be helping defend Iran. That's what that claim is insinuating, that these are the same circumstances, and because I am here in Ukraine, then I need to have the exact same feeling towards Iran, no matter what Iran's policies and ideologies and history is. Doesn't matter. But because I defend Ukraine, I need to defend Iran. It's not how it works, dude. I mean, think about it. Wars need to happen sometimes. As humans have been killing each other since as long as they knew how to start throwing punches, they've been killing each other. Since as soon as they knew how to pick up a rock and a stick, they've been killing each other. War, unfortunately, is still a necessity. And nobody wants war, but you need to be prepared for it and you need to be able to prevent it from getting worse if possible. And I think eliminating the RGC would be eliminating it from getting worse if possible. So these are my takes, guys. Again, we're pretty split in the comments section, but we have a lot of good talks about it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. That's all I got. I love you. We'll see you in the next one.